Hi, Michael Roddy, Universal Orlando, Halloween Horror Nights. Here we have Dracula, Legacy of Blood. Again, we have this wonderful opening statement that's suggestive of Dracula's Gothic castle. But we also went back, instead of the Bela Lugosi film of 1931, we went back to the original source material of what Vlad the Impaler actually did to his victims. What Vlad the Impaler, Dracula's based on an actual character, would do is he would take his enemies and spike them. And spiking is actually a terrible way to die because you don't die immediately. You suffer on these pikes for hours and hours and hours. And what he would do is he would sit in a chair very much like this amongst all of his enemies and watch them and hear them as they died. So we'll actually have Dracula here out amongst the enemies that are dying and suffering, enjoying a goblet of blood, because he would also drink the blood of his enemies. One of the other things we did is we went back to Bram Stoker's original source material, and there's a line that Dracula spoke saying that, "I will turn your women against you," when he was talking to the village men in Transylvania. So one of the ideas is that this house is populated not only by Dracula, but also by several brides of Dracula. Some are very elegant, very almost sexy, if you will, but then we have the others that are feral brides that are like vicious little animals that want to just rip you apart. So you ready to go into Castle Dracula? This is our first room, and what's great is this is different completely from Frankenstein. Whereas Frankenstein was a burnt laboratory set, this is a castle. We actually have statuary and tapestry on the walls, and everywhere you look, Gothic arches, and if you look up, we even have, sconces, things that are suggestive of a true castle. And then we have these alcoves where at every opportunity either the brides of Dracula or Dracula himself will make an appearance trying to rip your throat out. Then we move deeper into the castle. We also like to do this a lot, hang things down so that they've either been ripped so that you have to move them away. Again, it's a tactile experience as you move something away. Then we have an opportunity where a character, right as you move this out of the way, can be right here in your face. Lots of statues. And you get the idea that, okay, there's a statue here, so obviously there must be a statue here. And there's not. There's an actor dressed as a statue who comes to life and comes at you. Then we're moving out into the parapet of Castle Dracula. We have the idea that you're now moved up. You see the tops of the dead trees. Dracula will actually be floating out there looking down at you, and as you're paying attention to him, one of his brides will attack from this side, swiping down at you with her long talon-like fingers. Again, moving into those dark hallways and Gothic arches, you feel like you're in a castle. This is Dracula's coffin room where he keeps his brides. We actually have a really cool transformation on this side where Dracula will appear actual in bat form and raise out his wings. He has a huge snout. He's in mid-transformation, and he starts to reach out at you, pushing you that way, where we have one of his feral brides attack you from one of the other coffins. And then also for good distraction, we have air rams and things in these that actually will move these. You get the idea that there's something trying to get out. And then we move into Dracula's assistant's room, Renfield. Now, if you're familiar with Dracula, you realize that Renfield loved to eat small animals. So we have suggestive bird cages, other types of cages, lots of animal bones, so that Renfield has been in here eating. But it's not the Renfield that you know from the movie. This Renfield is on all fours, much like a wild animal who comes reaching at you. He has a huge collar, and he swipes at you because he's been living off of animals, but now he sees you, and you're a much bigger meat. Then we move into Dracula's bride's portrait hallway. All of the women that Dracula has turned over the centuries, and as you're paying attention to that, we have all of these alcoves where Dracula or his bride can appear. But if you actually come across these, and as you're looking, you see that they change. And while you're admiring that, we actually have one of Dracula's brides on a rig above you floating, so that you look up and she's there ready to pounce. But each one of these portraits, as you move past it, they turn into a vampire. More opportunities for vampires, either his brides or Dracula himself, to appear. That's the other thing we like to do, is we like our mazes to be diverse. You know, Frankenstein was very much a laboratory, very much in ruins. This is very much a Gothic castle, and you feel like you're in a castle. I mean, on the walls, the books, things like that, little things that you'll see as you walk by that's suggestive that we want you to believe, even if it's for a second, that you're immersed in this environment. Then we move into a series of catacombs that go on forever. And basically what we've done is mirrors. And we'll actually have cold roll fog in here, and the brides playing this area, and as you're trying to find your way out, do I go this way, do I go this way, we have another opportunity for one of them to get you. Very aggressive house, very active. Then we go deeper into the castle. And then this is actually where all of the rest of Dracula's victims have died. Each side you see these skeletal remains in these broken coffins. And you get the idea, okay, they're all skeletons. Here's another skeleton. But then if you turn on this other side, looking to see a skeleton, there's nothing there. Because what we're going to put here is Dracula himself jumping out at you. And then we move into our finale room, which is where Dracula takes the victims that he wants to feed and places the remnants on this huge press, if you will. And then what happens is this closes and squeezes the last blood out of this, and the blood runs out on the sides. So that it's good to the last drop, I guess, is the best way to describe it. So that's Dracula, Legacy of Blood. Hope to see you at Halloween Horror Nights 2009, where we promise to scare you.
You're probably wondering where you are. I'll tell you where you might be. You might be in the room that you die in.